Hey guys, Freddie Helmuth here, and today I just wanted to talk about a story from when I visited Europe about a year or two ago. So, before I begin, I just want to say I don't know what direction I want to take my channel, and maybe I'll never know, but regardless, I'm going to do what I enjoy. I'm not going to do what people want me to do. I'm gonna do what I enjoy the most, film that, and then post it on YouTube. Anyways, so let's talk about my tale from Europe. So when I went to Europe, I went to France, Germany, and Switzerland, and I passed through, I think, Austria, I want to say, and I'm probably gonna butcher the name. What is it, like Liechtenstein, something like that? Um, but anyways, this particular story is going to be about a instance from France. So, quick thing about France. I hated it. At least I hated Paris. Paris was absolute just garbage. First day we were there, we were on a plane, didn't get any sleep. I didn't get to see the ocean on the plane ride to there or back. I didn't get any sleep the night before, and so when we finally landed in Paris, it was already light out. I hadn't gotten over probably like 30 hours of sleep, and we were already up and going for another full day of just walking around and all that. And it was a bit rough, but I mean, I enjoyed the experience itself. My time in France was fun, but Paris is a city I did not like. I remember learning that Napoleon widened the boulevards, all the roads and shit. And I just remember thinking, that's bullshit. Widen the roads, my ass. Because all the roads were like, one street from what it felt like. So it was always crowded, and the streets felt kind of uneven. There were cigarette butts everywhere. And literally the first time we went to a restaurant, this guy who was serving us was whispering off to one of his friends or something. The waiter, he was whispering like, "Oh, I hate Americans," or something like that, and that was interesting. But one thing I really thought interesting was about France was like every single major attraction was locked off. So like for example, the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was completely locked off. We had like at the base there was like metal like sheets, I want to say, like that covered the whole base, and there was like one way in that like would scan you too. Like there'd be guys there and they would have like these little scanner things that would scan for metal, and they could see what was in your backpack or whatever. Maybe not necessarily at the first one. At the first one I think it's just like booths where they took your stuff and looked through it and stuff. But once you get to the first checkpoint, you're actually in like the area. But then if you want to get a ticket and then go up the stairs or elevator or whatever, then you have to get scanned again. And this time it's like a full-on like airport scanner. And that's when they scan your whole backpack and look for anything suspicious. Now, there's another story about that I could talk about later, but for now, we're going to talk about this and a little bit about France. So earlier in the day, we had gone to, I want to say Versailles, and I just want to say I love Baroque art, but after going to France and just Europe in general, I don't think I like Baroque art anymore. I love all the detail, but there's so much detail, it's overwhelming. Like wherever there could be a line, there's going to be a line. Wherever there could be a curve, there's going to be a curve, It's very overwhelming with how much detail. But anyways, quick thing about Versailles. I picked up this replica flintlock at Versailles. Now, it's not like the greatest product in the world, but it's still wood and metal, and it's really cool. And my parents already told me before I went there could be issues with bringing back a replica or whatever, because my mom, she had a friend who brought back a replica, and he got pulled over by customs when he got back to America, and they questioned him and all that stuff. So I knew there could be an issue, but I wasn't going to let that halt me. It's a freaking replica, for crying out loud. If I want it, I'm bringing it back. That was my mindset. So I got this gun at Versailles. It was about $50, I want to say. And I just also want to add too, by the way, the hammer on this thing, it was loose. Whoever put it on incorrectly, and I fiddled around with it for the next couple days before I finally figured out how to put it on right and actually, put it on the right way where it's actually like on there. It's not wiggly or anything. Like, it's actually firm. It's on there. It's not going to wiggle. It's not going to move. It's going to stay on there. It actually took a while to figure out. But I just want to say, whoever makes these things, you should do your job better. But you'll notice that all these major places in France, all of them are kind of like locked off to the public. And they all kind of have these like airport scanners, and they're all locked off. And you'll typically notice a lot of like, you'll notice like a squad or something of I want to say like French like soldiers, that'll just walk around, and you'll see like quite a few of them. And I remember a pretty big checkpoint with at least like 6 of them at the airport. That was kind of scary. I remember walking in there and I was like, am I actually in danger here? Is someone going to come in and shoot up the place? Like, is it such a big threat of that they actually have these guys there? And I don't know. I don't pay attention to current events, so probably. But anyways, so Versailles was cool. Oh, another quick point. I keep going off these tangents. Another thing I thought was really interesting about France was they have this weird thing. In fact, I think it's Europe in general, but I noticed in France, if they're working on construction, like if they're doing something on a building, instead of just putting like a screen of cloth or whatever on the scaffolding so you can't see what's going on, they get like a custom painted like canvas that looks like the building. So for example, when we went to Versailles, there was a huge part of it that obviously was fake. Like, it had these canvas sheet things going all the way around it, and I was like, that's weird, what is that? And it was like painted with all the itty bitty details of the actual palace. And when you got closer, you could tell it wasn't real. It was flat, it wasn't three-dimensional. And I kind of figured out, wait, that's like a thing that they use to cover up the scaffolding. And I just thought that was weird because I've never seen that before, at least not here in America. Maybe I'm too far out in the West or something, I don't know. But I've never seen that before, and it was really weird to me. It just kind of felt like, oh, that's a waste of money, or that's a waste of time, or that's a waste of resources, or whatever. But anyways, so me and 2 other people bought these little flintlock gun thingies. And then we went to the Eiffel Tower. And the Eiffel Tower was a very interesting experience. I'll talk about that in another video, or maybe I'll talk about it here. I could do that too, but I got to the checkpoint, and here's the thing. So when I went on this trip, I went with a lot of people from my class and a lot of people from another school, from another state. I don't want to explain the whole process, but there was probably, I want to say, at least 50 people, I want to say, about. And anyways, I'm in line, and I give them my bag, and they search through my bag, and they see the box that this replica's in, and they pull out the bag. The guy just sees the handle, and he pulls it out a little bit, and then immediately he's like, no, 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 and then he's like practically like just finger jabbing me out of the door. So I was like, guess I'm not going to see the Eiffel Tower. So I walk out, and I'm just kind of sitting outside there, and I'm just like really nervous. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? Everyone's going to be in there for like the next 2-3 hours, and I'm just going to sit out here doing nothing. What am I going to do? Twiddle my thumbs? So everyone pretty much saw this, this walk of humiliation and shame on my way out. And so my teacher, who, is kind of like the main leader of this whole trip, she comes out, and she's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to shove your gun in a bush. And I was like, huh? And what happened is, apparently a couple years prior, she had a experience similar to this, where some kid, he bought a replica, the same thing happened to him, so they shoved it in a bush really deep where no one would find it unless they were purposely looking for it, and then they took off. So that's what we did too. She climbed over a fence, and all these French people are like, "What the fuck is she doing? What's that, short American lady doing?" She shoves it in a bush, puts it in their ways. We wait there for a minute to make sure, no one's like staring at us, and knowing that we put it in there. And we walked right back to the checkpoint. Went through a different one this time, so the same guy wouldn't see me and be like, "What'd you do with the gun?" And they looked, and I was fine, and I went through, and I saw the Eiffel Tower, and it was amazing. Now, here's the interesting part. Now you're thinking, what happened to the other two people who bought replicas? Well, here's what happened. These two guys, well, they got through the first checkpoint, and then they saw the second checkpoint, and that's when they said nope. Because the second checkpoint, has that scanner, and they realize they're going to see this, and they're going to think we're trying to smuggle something in. So they said nope, and they didn't get to see the Eiffel Tower. That kind of sucks for them. By the way, if you do see the Eiffel Tower, don't take the fucking stairs. That was the worst experience ever. I just want to say. I think that's about it for this. I'll talk about everything I wanted to talk about. Actually, there's one thing I wanted to add. I noticed this only in France. I mean, like, sure, there's street vendors in other countries, but in France, at least in Paris, the street vendors were really, really, like, there was a ton of them, and they were really persistent, and they led to some very interesting experiences. I might talk about an experience that happened to one of my friends in another video. But let's just say this. There was two types of street vendors I noticed in France. There was, and it seemed, I don't want to be racist or anything, but it seemed like it was kind of separated by race, or so there was a few white street vendors, and they sold like paintings, like these small little like, paintings and drawings of like French, of French landmarks and stuff. And then the black vendors, unfortunately, they only sold like those cheap little knickknacks, like those cheap little Eiffel Towers and all the other types of stuff. But there were tons of them. There's a lot more than the painting vendors, and there's tons of them. And as you got closer to the Eiffel Tower, there was more and more and more of them. At the Eiffel Tower, I remember like there was literally people who set up their mats like within a foot of each other. There were so many of them. Again, I don't mean to be racist or anything. It's just something I knew. I actually looked for a white vendor that sold cheap knickknacks. I never saw one. I was told by another friend they saw one. That's the thing. They only saw one of them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a big city. Who knows? But my time in France and just Europe in general, it was a blast. I learned a lot of things, but it was very interesting in good and bad ways. But yeah, I went to the Eiffel Tower. I almost didn't get to see the Eiffel Tower because I brought my replica flintlock gun with me. And you know what? Meh. I probably wouldn't have missed much either way. I mean, it was cool to get to the very top of it, but it really wasn't all that. I mean, yeah, it wasn't that cool to me. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I got to the top, and then it was just kind of like, oh, cool. I can see this whole city of, buildings that are all exactly level with each other and all look super, super old. And, I can see all these douchey people below me or, whatever. Yeah, well, that's France for you. Well, at least that's my Eiffel Tower story. I mean, whatever. Anyways, let me know about any experiences you had in Europe or, in France, or with the Eiffel Tower in the comments below. I'm Fruity Helmuth. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.